Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be my out-of-box review for the real grade Tallgeese EW. The EW bit is something I forgot to mention in the unboxing, I think, and it's a bit odd that it even has that tag, considering this is the original Tallgeese 1, which didn't appear in Endless Waltz. Obviously, that was the Tallgeese 3, but I guess there's some reason for that. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway, name aside, this is a really cool kit, but I will stand by my original belief that I was worried about in the unboxing, is that I just don't really like the proportions of the legs at all. Fantastic model all around, and you'll see that throughout the review, but those leg proportions are just not to my taste. I mean, they're fine, and I don't know really which, compared to like this or the master grade, which one would be more correct to the anime or to like the original line art or anything like that. I haven't checked that. I'm just going on what I personally prefer. I definitely prefer the proportions of the master grade legs more. These are very tree trunk legs. The thighs are smaller and the lower legs are larger compared to the master grade. So other than that, yeah, like I said, very, very cool kit. Really, as with real grades, as real grades usually tend to go, straight out of the box, it makes for a really fantastic looking kit. It's mostly white, so that means the stickers that you're putting on there are going to look pretty good. Those sticker decals that Bandai gives you with pretty much all of the real grades and some other high grades and other things as well. Those don't really look good on dark plastic, but when you've got a kit here that's mostly white, they're going to look pretty fine. Any of the stickers that do go in the dark plastic, though, I didn't put all the stickers on here. There's a fair amount that I did put on there, but I definitely didn't put all of them on there. And so there's a bunch more still on the sticker sheet that I didn't use, but I think this was just enough to just give you guys the idea anyway of how it's going to look with some of those on there. Now, of course, I also didn't do any panel lining. Doing some of the paneling on this kit would also help bring out some of the details, because it does have a lot of nice detail, a really nice balance of detail. The Tallgeese, I think, is a really just interestingly shaped kit overall, and just a really interesting shaped design, I should say, that doesn't really need a whole lot of details in there to really give it like the kind of just classy stylistic look that it has. But this kit does have a fair amount of details on there, again very similar to the master grade in terms of the details that it has. One area of the kit that's very much more detailed than pretty much any other part of the kit is the thruster pods, which is also the biggest change from the master grade, considering that they have an extra gimmick added in there that the master grade did not have. So overall, yeah, it's very nice, and let's get into some of the accessories here. Right, so yeah, once again, here's a look at that sticker sheet. As you can see, I used maybe less than half of the marking stickers, and then a whole bunch of these, like the kind of shiny metallic ones, I didn't really bother with. Those go on little bits here and there, mostly kind of on inner frame stuff. Some of them you can see like on joints or whatever, but just didn't really bother with those. We've got our little tiny 1/144 scale Zex Marquise figure here. Very nice if you want to go in and try to paint that up. We of course have our action base adapter piece here. And for hand options, some people might not like that this kit doesn't come with the normal RG style articulated hands. Personally, I don't really care for those. They're a little bit too fragile, and they work well for holding some weapons sometimes, but I just don't really like them. I prefer fixed pose hands. So I'm happy with what we got with this kit. We have a set of closed fists here, which I've got on the kit at the moment. And we've also got a set of weapon holding hands, kind of like trigger finger hands, weapon holding hands, whatever you want to do with these. And then we have one more weapon holding hand, but the difference with this one is that this one has a bent wrist on it, where as you can see on the regular one, it will just plug in straight like that, but this bent wrist will allow you to do some kind of more dynamic posing with having the wrist cocked back like that. And then we have a set of open hands, which, yeah, like all of this is very nicely detailed, and the expression, the pose with these looks quite nice as well. So very, very pleased with the set of hand options we have for this kit. And then we have our shield, which will connect up underneath the shoulder there, and then there's a few points of articulation here in the arm. It will kind of move around in different ways. And then on the back of the shield, we can see we have the two different beam saber handles there, which will fold out. You can pull those out to hold those in the hand, of course. And then we have the secondary handle here for the shield, which I don't think pretty much anyone will probably use, but you can use that, I guess, if you wanted to. Overall, nice color separation here with the yellow part going around the outside, the gray parts inside, and then the gray parts poking through the front, and then just this nice big white cover there for the shield. Quickly, while we're on the topic of colors, there's actually two different shades of yellow here. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but some parts, like the trim around the wrists and the shoulders and the shield here, is in like a little more orangey yellow, whereas the yellow bits like on the actual mobile suit inside there, the vents and this crotch piece and the parts there in the front of the knee, are in a more just kind of straight yellow color. It's very not noticeable, but it is slightly different. And for the whites as well, there is 2 different tones of white, but it's very, very subtle. Probably the most noticeable place here is on this part there on the side. You can see the main part of this kind of side skirt armor bit there is in just the straight high gloss white, and then this lower bit is in that kind of very, very slightly off white and less shiny. So there's a bit of that here and there. It's really not very noticeable, but if you do look closely, you can notice it, and it does give a little bit of separation there. Getting back to the accessories though, we do have 2 beam saber effect parts here for those beams in clear pink, but that's not all. We actually have another set here as well. The second set is in just plain clear, so if you wanted to paint these in to have them blue or green or purple, whatever you want, you just paint them up with some clear paint, and there you go. So that's nice that those were included as an option. And last but most certainly not least is the Tallgeese's main weapon, the Dober gun. Really nicely detailed. I like this quite a bit. And we have a little sticker there, a little blue one there for the camera for that. And here in the back, the ammo clip can be removed. That's cool. This little bit here can also move up and down there. And you can actually kind of pop this back. It's a little bit sticky, but you can see that will bring the whole barrel back. I guess you could just push it from the barrel, but you have this little tab here that you can pull to kind of simulate that's like actually firing, or that's just kind of the recoil of the Dober gun there. So that's cool. On the Master Grade, that's actually kind of spring-loaded, which is interesting, but for this one, they still built that detail in. And then here at the front, we have the secondary handle, which will move side to side like so. And then the main handle is quite interesting, and this whole section here will rotate side to side, and then the handle itself will also rotate. So if you kind of swing this out, and then the handle is kind of sideways, but then you can just rotate the handle, and then it'll be straight to make that easier to hold. Now that's definitely very cool. That was one of my biggest problems I had with the Master Grade. Probably like the only problem that I really cared too much about was that it's really hard to hold a Dober gun in like any convincing pose on the Master Grade. And so if this kit can improve on that with the new functionality here built into the gun, then that's a big improvement in my eyes, because it's like the main weapon. It has to look cool using it, and so we'll see. This is also going to have like a very similar articulated arm. It's slightly different than the shield one, but this mechanical arm here that will plug up into the shoulder armor. Before we get into the articulation, I'll also mention that the visor is in plain clear, like the plain clear beam sabers, and so that's just the shiny metallic blue sticker you're placing over the top of that. As for the head articulation, though, it will go, as you can see, up to here, which is actually quite nice, considering this just looks like similar to the Leo, where it just would be like a pretty immobile head, but it's actually quite posable. And then it can go down to there, not quite as much, but still looks the part. As with other real grades, the cockpit hatch does open up, and we do have some detail in there, but no seated pilot figure or anything, but it's just a nice little added gimmick in that. The stomach crunch is quite nice, as you can move it forward and back. That's quite nice. Side to side, not really so much, but the interesting thing about this too is that this has a little gimmick built into the back with this little tab, sort of similar to like the Master Grade Unicorn. I think the real grade Unicorn maybe uses the same thing, but this little lever here, which kind of folds down onto a little peg, which will allow you to lock that from being able to move back and forth. Basically what that will do is will keep the mobile suit, because it's kind of back heavy with the thruster pods, when it's just standing, it won't lean back, it will stay straight. So that little mechanism there to flip that tab down will help you to just, when you have the kit just standing up, or even up on an action base, it'll keep the top half of the mobile suit from leaning back. So that's pretty cool. Well, we're back here. Let's take a look at the thruster pods. This whole arm here will allow you to move that back and out of the way. You can, of course, also rotate that as well. Okay, so the first thing we'll do here is just bring out these side bits, and then there's this little switch which you'll push down, and I'm going to try to show you this. It's kind of hard to do this without like actually holding on to everything, but when you push that down, as you can see, it opens up this bottom part and this top part there at the same time, which is pretty cool. Let me close that up and show it to you again if I can try that. So once again, see how when I move this little switch, how that will all open up like so, and the little thruster bell down at the bottom moves. Quite cool, and you can open this up a little bit further if you want. And then you can also move this wing out further. You can see it lowers that little thruster bell inside. You can then adjust the thruster bills so that they're actually pointing straight back like so, and that all makes for a pretty cool look on the back of this guy. Very, very cool. Here at the shoulder, we don't really have a lot of forward and back movement, but what you can actually do is slide that shoulder joint out a little bit there, and then you can get much more range of movement forward and back out of that shoulder joint. So that's a very cool function built into that. The shoulder armor itself will move up and down. Here on the side is this little bit that you open up, and that's where you can plug in the Dober gun or the shield. And then the arm itself will be able to move up unfortunately really only about to there, to about 90 degrees. So that is definitely one weak point of the articulation, but you can see how it's just kind of limited by this shoulder armor there, that black kind of ball there at the top. So you could see how if you just cut a little bit more out of that, you could get that range up higher if you wanted to just do a little bit of surgery on that part. Really wouldn't be too big of a deal. Otherwise, the arm works pretty normally. We got rotation there at the top, but here at the elbow, when you bend that, it's interesting, kind of just in the standard just prone position, it doesn't actually go straight. There's no way to set the arm perfectly straight. That is as straight as it goes. But when you bend that, we get some really nice separation there of the armor pieces. You got these two different pieces which separate there apart at the elbow. Looks very, very cool and gives you a pretty much full bend there at the elbow. And then the wrist is just pretty normal, just on a ball joint like so. Going down here to the front skirts, these bits of front skirt here on the side actually don't move individually, but this whole part here in the front lifts forward. Now this is a pretty interesting gimmick because when you lift that forward, it pops out the little crotch thruster. I'm not really sure the purpose of that. I don't remember that doing that in the show, but hey, that's a extra little gimmick added to it, I suppose. So yeah, it can pop out his crotch thruster and then you have to just push it back in like so. These side skirts, similar to the master grade, have this little peg here which will connect into the side of the thigh, but if you don't want to use that, you can just fold that up inside of there and then it's not attached and they're just free floating on there like so. That's kind of easier. These of course will move up out of the way, no problem there. Really nice detail up underneath those as well, and then these can also open up like so. So that's another kind of added cool gimmick to that. There's not really too much to be seen inside, but it's just cool to just give it a more kind of opened up look. And then here on the back skirt, as you can tell that they already open, these also open as well. Again, really nice detail inside there. Little thruster bells inside there. Those just open up quite wide actually. Totally like that. There's nothing really stopping them from opening all the way up, but that's another just cool gimmick, cool color separation here. It is a real grade, so that's expected. The whole hip joint itself will swing forward and back like so, and then we can bring the legs out all the way to the side. That won't be a problem at all. Bringing the legs forward though is another matter. That's you can bring it up to like less than 90 degrees, and that's about as high as you can get the hip to go, or the thigh to go at the hips. So that's a little bit disappointing. When we bend the knee though, again, really nice armor separation here. Like with the elbow, it's two separate parts that will break apart there at the knee to give you a really nice, really cool looking knee bend and a full bend at that. While we're here at the lower leg, I'll mention this for anyone who else is like me and doesn't like the proportions here in the leg. Inside this part here in the lower leg, it's pretty hollow, so if you wanted to modify that by just basically filing this down or anything, whatever you wanted to do, however you wanted to do that, to make these more thin, you don't have to really worry about much inner frame in there. There is inner frame inside this lower leg part, but there's very little of it in there, so it really wouldn't be hindered at all. The only thing that would really be damaged by just kind of like modifying this to be more narrow is this little gray bit here, which is barely poking out here on the side of the leg. That said, they did fix another negative point of the master grade, whereas this little part here at the bottom of the lower leg was quite loose in the master grade and always popping off and like kind of spinning around and doing weird things. In this case, it's plugged up onto the lower leg very firmly, so that won't be an issue. The ankles will move side to side quite nicely. Up underneath the feet, some pretty nice detail there. This is actually the main part of the bottom of the foot is part of that internal frame of the B-runner of the real grade. Backward movement to there, forward movement to there, and you can bend the toes forward, but when you put the foot back, you actually can't bend the front toes down, which is a little bit disappointing. So you can get the ankle back pretty far, but it would have been cool if you were able to actually point the toes down a little bit as well. Okay, so all things considered, I think you guys can see that this is shaping up to be a pretty awesome kit. It doesn't have like a huge range of accessories and options. It has a really nice set of hands, that's cool. Weapons, I mean, it's just a shield, beam sabers, and a gun. That's pretty basic, but that's pretty much exactly what you would expect. You wouldn't really expect anything else to be coming with this. So everything's covered there. The articulation, as you could see, was pretty much all solid. There's some really cool points of articulation there. A couple points where it's not quite as good, but overall I think it's quite nice. And I just keep comparing it to the master grade, and I'm sorry about that, but I think the real grade line and the master grade line are so similar in terms of like what they're trying to do. Like the biggest difference is just the scale and the gimmicks that are included with them. I think obviously the real grades have the pre-built frame, which is a kind of unique thing, but I'm just talking about like the actual finished kit. They usually generally very detailed, pretty high amount of part separation and everything like that. And they usually have a pretty good amount of gimmicks that Bandai tries to include in there as well. Obviously, a Master Grade line has been around for a lot longer, so you can't really compare that to like some of the older Master Grades, but like compared to some more modern Master Grades. So that's why I want to make a lot of comparisons, because I actually really like the Master Grade of this kit, and I wasn't really sure how this Real Grade was really going to compare, because if it's pretty much the same and scaled down, then there's really not much of a point to it in my mind, unless like you really prefer 1/44 scale, or you really don't want to spend the extra $15, I guess, like it would be for the Master Grade, and you wanted to save some money, save some shelf space with this kit, then yeah, it's cool, but otherwise, I wouldn't really see too much of a point in it. But I can see with the new things that they've added to it, and just how it's a pretty just nice, solid kit, and it seems to have fixed some of the issues that Master Grade had, that gives it definitely some value. And so obviously I don't like the proportions of the legs on this kit, but other than that, what negatives does this kit really have? Really not really anything that I can speak of. And one issue that is kind of the most common issue that people have with a lot of Real Grades is that they're very finicky. You have little parts that sometimes like to fall off very easily, little bits that can be broken really easily, and I haven't really experienced that with this kit. I think if anything was going to be broken in this kit, it might be something within like the thruster pods on the backpack, just because there's a lot of moving parts there and they're very small and everything like that. So maybe be a little bit careful when you're kind of opening those up and everything. But other than that, the kit seems very, very solid. Like I said before, the details on it are quite good. Color separation is really nice. Articulation is really good. It has all the weapons you'd want. So there's really nothing really negative to say about it really at all. So as long as you are okay with the proportions and you like the stuff that's included with this kit, then you'll be totally happy with it. As with any kit, I think if there's anything that I would have loved to have seen in the box that was not included, it would be Waterslide Decals, but as we all know, Bandai just doesn't really do that. So unfortunately, until the day where we might be able to be getting Waterslide Decals in all these kits, I can't really hold that too much against the release here. Alright, and here we have the last test. It's the holding the Dober gun test, and I gotta say it's better than the Master Grade, but it still just looks kind of goofy. I think when you got a big gun like that that's attached up onto the side of the shoulder, or like it's like hanging off the bottom of the shoulder by this weird arm that goes like wraps around the outside of the gun, and then you hold on the inside of the gun. It's just kind of weird and awkward. So it can pose, but it's still going to be a little bit weird trying to pose it in some sort of action shot with a Dober gun. I feel like you'd almost be better off just like disattaching that from the shoulder and just like holding it like a regular gun or something in some way. You could probably do that as well. But overall, very, very great kit. I would highly recommend it if you guys are a fan of the Tallgeese, a fan of Gundam Wing. I'm sure at some point we'll get the Tallgeese 2 and or 3 out as probably P-Bandai kits in the future, and that'll be cool too as well. I don't know if I'll pick them up, maybe, but this was a cool kit anyway. I like this. I don't, honestly, guys, to be honest, I don't really care that much for Real Grades as much as I once did. They're all fine and well, but I just prefer Master Grades and High Grades, I think, in general, more than I do Real Grades. That said, they are always fun and interesting to build because they're always using some cool new technology in there, and just the way they go together is all very interesting. But when it comes to like actually like painting and like completing, like doing a completed build or something, it's not really one of my favorite lines, to be honest. But if you're building just straight out of the box and not doing any painting at all, then they're excellent kits for that. So that's kind of one cool thing about them. So anyway, as always, a huge thank you to USA Gundam Store for supplying me with this kit to share with you guys. Do check out the link to their site down below and use that coupon code there, ZakuAurelius10, to save 10% off of this and anything else you want to get from their site. So as always, just big thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for watching. Leave any of the further questions and comments down below. If there's anything I missed, let me know. I think I covered pretty much everything though, so hopefully the review has been helpful for you guys. With that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Hey! Thanks for watching, guys. Remember, if you want to check the kit out for yourself, you can head over to USA Gundam Store. Use that coupon code ZakuAurelius10. Save yourself 10%. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.